Can't buy alcohol with a minor present? Well, I'll send her home. So I went to Walmart to buy some alcohol. It was me, 26, my 2 brothers, 23, and one of my brother's girlfriend, 21. We all went in together to shop and thus got in line together. I went to pay and the cashier asked to see my ID. I showed her and then she asked to see everyone else's. I asked why and she said that if there are 3 or more people in a group buying alcohol, they all have to show ID. Of course, my brother's GF left her wallet at home, since she had no reason to bring it. So the cashier refused to sell us alcohol. I asked, what if I was a father with his wife and 15-year-old kid? Could you sell me alcohol then? She said no. So I left the store, had my brothers and brother's GF drive to another store in the plaza that we had go to. And I went back in to get alcohol. The original cashier saw me in line and said that I couldn't buy it. I asked why not, and she said it's because she knew I had someone without their ID with me. I said that that person is not only not in the store, but not even on the store's property. She still refused because she said the girl was with me 15 minutes before. After a back and forth, she talked to a coworker and the coworker said she had to sell me the alcohol. And that's the story of how I beat the silly alcohol policy of Walmart. Edit. Lot of comments on this, so I'll address the biggest points I've seen brought up. 1. I did feel bad about the situation and apologized throughout my conversation with the employee. I know that she was just doing her job and don't really blame her. 2. Liquor stores around me close at 7 and it was around 8. So going to another store wasn't an option. Otherwise, we would have. 3. Obviously we didn't need alcohol. We aren't alcoholics. But I was responsible for bringing the alcohol for a get-together and would have felt like a real dick if I had shown up empty-handed. Also, I'd just like to point out that this was like 2 years and pre-pandemic. I'm not throwing parties during a pandemic. Edit 2. I realized that I started the post by putting our current ages and then switched halfway through. So I updated the ages to what they were at the time. Not that it particularly matters. That's what I get for writing a post at 2 a.m. cold sweat smile. Walmart also insists that a U.S. passport is not a valid ID to use to purchase alcohol. They're not a bright bunch. I had a similar experience once, though not because of anyone with me. I did a grog run on the way to a mate's birthday. Walked in and the cashier said he couldn't serve me. Why not? Quote, I suspect that you may be going to buy alcohol for the underage kids hanging around outside. The bottle shop was near a Macca's and a skate park. I wonder why there would be teenagers hanging around. What would you like me to do then? Ask them to leave? Bash them? Do you not like my appearance? Or are you just planning to sit behind the counter refusing to sell alcohol to anybody who walks in? Until the kids decide to go home? Quote. I'm not sure if that last comment hit home, because he went red and allowed me to buy what I wanted. It may also have helped that I bought craft beer and a bottle of decent scotch as a present, not the cheap most alcohol per dollar stuff teenagers tend to favor. Late 90s. I wanted to pimp my ride and paint my rusted stock rims black. Wally World wouldn't sell me spray paint BC I wasn't 18. Fine. I left and went to an auto parts store. This happened to my older cousin, probably 25 at the time, and me, 11 to 12. The cashier at Winn-Dixie didn't want to sell him a case of beer BCI was with him. He was visiting from New York and he said that's most absurd thing he's ever heard. He also begged the question, what if she was my daughter? Quote, She sold him the beer. No idea of the States, but in the UK, she was breaking the law if she knowingly sold it if she believed it was for a minor. However, if she believed you that it wasn't for the minor, then it's not illegal. I ask, is it for you? Quote, as long as the answer is believable, then I'm covered. Had a guy change his story 3 times the other day about who a can of energy drink was for. Monster is 16 or above by policy but not backed by law yet. Some people are beyond help. This is such a stupid policy. Years ago when my daughter was 6, me, my wife and our daughter were buying groceries. I grabbed a 6-pack of some local beer and the cashier refused to sell it to me because, even though my wife and I both showed ID, we couldn't produce an ID for our daughter. The manager happened to be standing in the next lane and proceeded to inform us and the cashier that they had to sell to us because apparently that wasn't even store policy. Just something the cashier made up. Now I know they must have worked at Walmart previously. Tell me you're in the United States without telling me you're in the United States. Stop arguing and come visit Germany. Wine and beer are legal for teenagers 16 plus. To buy, to drink in public, in private, whatever. Don't blame the cashiers. It's their ass and their job on the line. They have to be so careful. I will say, the reason cashiers are so careful is because the store gets a huge fine if someone sells a minor alcohol. The cashier would risk also getting a huge fine and maybe jail. No one on a minimum wage job is going to go out on a limb for a customer like that. But I do think the laws are stupid and so think they should change. Source. Worked as a cashier. I work at Walmart and this gets drilled into our heads all the time, and I work in electronics. If it's obvious it's your kids, it's fine, but cashiers are told to use our best judgment about selling alcohol when multiple people are present. If I sell alcohol to someone and it's found to be bought for a minor, I would lose my job, get fined, and potentially jail time. My manager says when in doubt deny the sale and they can take it up with management. This has happened to me at other stores, not just Walmart. They're covering their asses and I don't blame them. America, where you can't buy a Bud Light, a beer not alcoholic enough to get an aunt drunk, until you're 21, but where you can legally marry in some states at 14, drive a 350 HP car at 15, work full-time, and horribly underpaid, at 16 and get life in prison at 18. Oh. Also, no smoking under 21. Unless you're in active duty, killing foreigners in their own country. Then it's 18. Hypocrisy. Thy name is Murica. This really isn't the cashier's fault. I doubt they couldn't give less of a shit, but if they fuck up they could lose their job. When I was a cashier, this guy, skinny white guy with a mullet, full-on hick looking, came to the counter with this girl, olive-tone skin, tall, wearing a beautiful dress with full makeup so she looked like an adult, trying to buy Bud Light. I asked for both their IDs cause that's how it works, and this man goes off saying that this girl is his underage daughter and how dare I ask her for her ID and assume she's an adult. Had to have my manager come over because fuck that, I'm not dealing with that. This was years ago so I can't remember the solution, but I'm pretty sure they were just allowed the alcohol. TBH, I hope that girl was safe because she looked really uncomfortable the entire time. ETA. The reason we can't sell without an ID present is because we need to physically type your birthday into the system for the alcohol to ring up. I don't care if you're obviously elderly. I am sure if you can recite your birthday the manager might let it slip through, but I don't make the rules. Oh no, the minimum wage worker didn't want to risk getting busted in a sting for not following alcohol ID guidelines. Not the cashier's fault. They get fired and possibly prosecuted for not following corporate rules. This isn't malicious compliance. You just argued with a rule and eventually someone gave in. You did not comply maliciously or otherwise. I used to be a beer and wine manager for a grocery store for several years. I will probably get downvoted for this, but she was right. In PA, we as the cashier are liable for any potential sales to minors, VIPs, or anyone we shouldn't legally be selling to. If a group of people who are all in their 20s came in and browse the aisles, talk about what to get or drink, then they come up to the register and one or all couldn't produce IDs, that's a denied sale. In PA, if you sell to someone who you know is purchasing for a minor, it is legally considered selling directly to the minor with all the penalties associated therewith. Those include fines to the store, to the cashier, the employee possibly being terminated, liquor license possibly taken. She was doing her job, and if one of my employees denied this sale, I would have backed them up. Who the hell goes anywhere without their ID? First off, I'm failing to see how this is malicious. It seems to just be compliance. Also, I get that this is an annoyance, but playing devil's angels advocate here. The whole point is to keep minors from getting people to buy alcohol for them. To that end, I'm actually one to support these measures. Less than, probably, unpopular opinion.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.